He's Drew Brees, Saints quarterback. He joins us on the program. Did you guys have a rookie symposium, Drew, when you came in?
Yeah, we did. It was out in Leesburg, Virginia. Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was helpful. I think it's come a long way, from then until now as well.
But was there somebody there to not scare you straight, but just give you a perspective on some of the things that could go wrong?
Oh yeah, they'll have like a roundtable discussion with a lot of former NFL players that come back, and it's you just talk about a lot of the potential pitfalls, things to prepare for, things to be ready for. Learn from my experiences. I learned the hard way, and just I think if you go into it with the right mentality of I really want to be able to take something away that can help me here, I think you're going to get out of it what you put into it. But certainly the intent is to really help these young rookies prepare for all the challenges that come with being a young NFL player.
What would you say if you had 2 minutes to talk to him? The one thing that you would want to reinforce?
Oh, man, that's a good question. The first thing I would say is this doesn't last forever. And, in fact, the average NFL career, is 3.6 years. So, everyone in this room sits here and desires to have a 10-plus year NFL career. But the reality is that, it could be much less. And make sure you're prepared for that day. And don't spend your contract like it's always going to be there, because it's not. And certainly you want to prepare yourself for life after football. I would encourage guys to, if you haven't gone back and gotten your degree, go back and get your degree and do whatever you can to further your education and take advantage of the opportunities there are within the CBA to go back and get master's degrees, MBAs, do things that can help prepare you for life after football and allow you to be successful after football.
He's Drew Brees, Saints quarterback, joining us. Dan Patrick Show. You want to talk about bounties or your contract first? You pick.
The lesser of two evils, whatever.
Well, which one's the lesser of two evils?
Probably the contract. No new progress or any news to speak of, other than still working at it and hoping that we can get something done sooner than later, a long-term deal.
Any chance, though, that you would be just that franchise tag, and that you would go into the season with that franchise tag and play under that?
I hope not. That's been. I've played under the franchise tag before, back in 2005 with the San Diego Chargers, and that did not end well for me. That ended with me having my dislocated throwing shoulder the last game of that season, going into a year where I didn't have a contract, and fighting for my career at that point. So I know what that experience is like. I know certainly how hard I've worked to get to the position that I'm in, where I can negotiate a long-term deal. Played out the extent of a 6-year contract that I had with the Saints. It was actually a 1-year deal with a 5-year option. So here I am going into my 12th year in the NFL, and really it's my first opportunity that I've had to sit down and negotiate a long-term contract for myself.
Should you be the highest-paid quarterback in the game?
I don't think about that.
But your numbers are going to be, but they're going to be compared to.
You know what? The numbers will be there. The numbers will be there, but that's not my motivation. My motivation is not to be the highest paid guy or to have that label, even though that might be the case, because that's not what's important to me. What's important to me is that it's just and it's fair and it's in line with, I guess, my resume and where I feel like I stand, certainly among the other quarterbacks in the league. But it's not your contract to me. It's not. Even though they base it off of past accomplishments, for me, whatever that contract is, I got to go out and earn that contract. Every day that I step into work and every time I step onto the field, I got to go earn that contract. I haven't earned that contract yet. I need to go earn it.
And let me talk about bounties here. Anthony Hargrove said that voice on the video saying, "Give me my money," is not him, which, if that's the case, and a lot of the Saints are saying that's not Anthony Hargrove, who is it then? And why don't they step up so we can exonerate Anthony Hargrove?
I'm not sure. And to be honest with you, I know that you can't really see his lips, and then there's this voice, and is it Hargrove? Is it Remy Ayadel? Is it, there's all these names that have been thrown out there. I mean, it's basically anybody who's in and around in that picture. But, regardless, I think that when you look at all the guys. So you look at Hargrove, you look at Velma, you look at Fujita, Will Smith. I really, to this point, have not seen any hard evidence, any truth that shows that these guys were contributing money or accepting money or what have you for a pay-to-injure scheme. There was money changing hands to guys to go out with the intent to seriously injure somebody or in their career or what have you. I think that pay for performance has been lumped together with pay to injure in this whole thing. And just the facts and evidence and everything has been either twisted or fabricated, or it just seems like this entire NFL investigation has been geared toward a predetermined conclusion that they wanted to reach for whatever reason, as opposed to just going out and trying to identify the facts. And I think the facts that have been presented thus far don't show any proof that there was a pay-to-injure scheme going on. And I like to think that as a quarterback of the team, I would have heard about something like that going on.
But you had the documentary filmmaker, Sean Pamphilon, who said that you know more than you're letting on. And he brought that to light, after Greg Williams' audio tape, the former defensive coordinator, went public. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm not sure I'm really not sure what he has against me, nor what he's accusing me of, to be honest with you. And I've had, I really don't know Sean Pamphilon. I've had 2 encounters with him. I sat down and filmed something for Steve Gleason for his, kind of his own personal footage that he was putting together for himself and his battle with ALS and his family. And then for a brief snippet to talk about Sean Morey and all the work that he's done with the NFLPA and in CBA negotiations last year to help advance player health and safety benefits in last year's CBA. But I can't sit here and waste all my time talking about all the things that he's supposedly accusing me of. I mean, I'm not even sure what he's accusing me of. So that's not really. I'm not really sure what he's asking.
I just don't know how this got out of control with the players and the ledger and Bounty Gate, and all of a sudden the commissioner's the judge and jury. I mean, this happened so quickly here, Drew. Do you think the commissioner has made a mistake?
The facts that have been presented thus far do not back up the punishment that's been levied.
But why hasn't Sean Payton fought this? I have pretty good knowledge and feel like, I've been informed that I think a lot of those coaches feel like there are further sanctions that are being held above their heads if they don't cooperate, quote unquote, with the investigation. And so I think even though punishment's already been levied on the coaches, it's already been determined that there are further sanctions that are possible if they do not cooperate. And I believe that if they were to speak out on behalf of the players, that maybe that's the fear that they have, is that that's being held over their head. I think that they're beginning to speak out, and I think honestly, though, the facts just speak for themselves. Has the NFL presented anything that is concrete, factual evidence that shows that guys were involved in a paid injury scheme? Besides, talking about what was said. And there's a big difference between tough talk and then, tough action. Actually, it's one thing to say, we know locker room talk. I mean, you've probably been in enough locker rooms. You see it on NFL films all the time, guys yelling, screaming. If you take something out of context, then you can surely form it into something that it's not. And I think, unfortunately, that might be what happened here. But the fact of the matter is, we just want to know the truth. I want to know the truth. You want to know the truth. American public wants to know the truth. We're all tired of hearing about this. It's kind of like quit wasting our time. If it happened, if it's factual, then prove it, show it. If that is the case, then guys would deserve punishment. If they were involved in a pay-to-injure scheme where they were indeed paying each other to go out and hurt people, then you know what? That's an offense, and it deserves to be punished. But if it's not, then let's exonerate these guys, because unfortunately right now they're being dragged through the mud, and their reputations and their careers are being put at risk. Good guys too. Scott Fujita, Jonathan Filma, guys that I've been around a long time right now. Sean Payton. I don't feel like they deserve this. Certainly, if it's not true. I know you're doing work with Dick's Sporting Goods. I know you had to take a couple of bullets from the firing squad there to get the plug in on it, and it's a great program. Explain to the audience what you're doing.
Yes, there's an amazing stat: 3.8 million concussions annually, whether they're sports related or recreational, and 85% of that 3.8 million go undiagnosed or undetected, which is a pretty alarming stat. And so what the Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation has created is this PACE program. It stands for Protecting Athletes Through Concussion Education. And it's going to be providing free baseline concussion tests to middle schools, high schools, and youth sports programs, just as a great first step to help people identify concussions in young athletes. Because the more that we can be aware of it, the more that we can educate people, the more that we can recognize it, we can then take all the necessary steps and measures to make sure that before anybody goes back on the field, that they are 100% healthy and that it's safe. I think that sports is something that every kid should participate in at some level. I think there's so many great values, life lessons that can be learned from sports. And I'm not just saying football. I'm saying there's obviously a myriad of sports. Are there risks associated with every sport? Yes, there are, especially the contact sports. But as long as we are aware of what those risks are, and certainly as it pertains to head and neck injuries, you want to make sure that we're able to identify them and then treat them properly. We need to fast-track the research to get to that point, but I think that this is a great first step.
DickSportingGoods.com/pace with Drew Brees. Before I let you go, would you let your boys play professional football, college football?
Yes, I would. Now, would I let them do that? I mean, they're 3 years old and 20 months old, and I got one more on the way. So there's a little bit of time before that happens. At what age am I going to let them play? I don't know. I mean, there's some research that says, you don't want to no contact past until age 13. I didn't play tackle football until I was 14, but I played flag football before that. There's plenty of those programs, 7-on-7 programs. I know that Pop Warner now in a lot of places are limiting the amount of contact for kids in practice. But I think in the past, there's just this paradigm shift that needs to take place in regards to the mentality when you're playing, especially contact sports, and that is, if you get your bell rung, it's not just you're dinged and you're back in. It's, what, I need to step out. I need to get evaluated. I need to make sure I'm okay. Teammates need to look after each other in regards to that. Coaches, trainers, parents, medical personnel need to all be educated in that manner so that the necessary steps are taken to make sure that it is as safe as possible. Are we going to completely eliminate injury and concussions from all sports? No, we're not. But this is, like I said, a great first step and to get things going in the right direction.
Give me that website one more time.
Yeah, it's DickSportingGoods.com/pace to register your school or your organization to get a free baseline test, and also sign the pledge that just says you're going to be part of the movement to educate and raise awareness, and you get a cool free like Live Strong bracelet when you sign online.
Good to visit with you again, Drew. Thanks for joining us.
You too, Dan.
All right. Drew Brees, Saints quarterback. We'll react to that. Your phone call's coming up. Dan Patrick Show.